Jen, do I have those questions?
Oh, yes, sir.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's going to be a repeat for some of you. I first ran for office in 1989. I thought I could do something for the people, just like many of you, and you can. As a shareholder for 42 years now, I look back on what we did in those days, and we were very limited in what we could do. I had the honor of serving as your assistant principal chief from 1990 to 1994, and after that I said, I'm done, because the limitations were so much. And I was actually working for tribes as an attorney, and I've worked for over 20 tribes. And I can tell you, for one thing, other tribes have more than one board, okay? And you'll see that if you actually work for other tribes. The situation at Osage changed in 2006. We had a new constitution. It's not perfect by any means. I think all of us can get together and figure how we can do a better job. I've been in 3 forms of Osage government. The 1906 Act form, which I was assistant chief. Then we had a form in 1995 to 97, where I served as an attorney to tall chief in the National Council. And now this one. And I always try to point out to the boards, for example, when I see them arguing and all that, that I can go back to the 1990s and I saw those big intense debates and people even got to the point yelling at each other. And then in the second one, I've seen that. And I've seen it this time too. And I'm always telling our people, no one remembers that. No one, I may be the only one in the room that remembers those under the 1906 Act, all those arguments and all that. It's not necessary. We just shouldn't be doing that. And I know it's hard, and it's hard for all of us, because no one is going to remember it. What they're going to remember is what we have done and the problems we've overcome. That's what they're going to remember. That's what they remember about you and me. So, what I learned is that this new form of government has now opened it up. So, in the old days, my wife and I are shareholders to Osage, but our children and grandchildren would be cut out of it. But now, like you, my children, my nieces, my nephews, my grandchildren, they're part of our Osage Nation. And we have 21,000 enrolled so far, 21,000 from those 2,229. And there's more to come. I don't know how many more, but there's more to come. And then of our shareholders, we have a separate, let's say, the 4th branch of government. And I think, Mr. Chairman, isn't there about 5,000?
5,102, and I'll need all of them.
There you go. That are shareholders, that are also Osage. Some of them aren't enrolled over there at Osage Nation, but most of them are. That's their choice. So we have this 4th branch of government. And the way that works is they're an independent agency. And they need a lot of help, in my mind, to free themselves from this Bureau of Indian Affairs negligence. Because we're not getting any support from the BIA. In fact, it's hurting us. You're going to hear about it from some of these candidates. And I've been for the Osage Nation, not controlling the Minerals Council, but supporting them. They need petroleum engineers, they need accountants, they need money in there because the BIA is not doing it. I was told just the other day from the staff, your staff, Mr. Chairman, that there are up to 2 billion barrels in place right now in our mineral estate, but the BIA will not give us the data we need to figure out what is available on primary recovery, secondary recovery, and tertiary recovery. And we need to get to that oil and get the best price. And I think Susan Foreman, who I support completely for the Minerals Council, is going to show you a bit about pricing, about where we're getting ripped off by the BIA today just on natural gas. Now, moving to these questions, if I can remember them. I can't, so I got to read it. The Cherokee Nation is a very successful economic development program. Well, it depends who you talk to over at Cherokee, okay? It is managed by one super board, and that's not accurate either. Let me just say at Cherokee, I've talked to the auditors If you want to find out what's going on, you'll talk to the auditors. Like other tribes, they have been trying to go forward and away from just gaming. And they've struggled through, and now they're really doing a great job on 8A. I mean, outstanding job. When I went down and looked at Cherokee, and I went over and talked to the lawyers of Cherokee, and I talked to the auditors, it just didn't fit us. So I went to the Chickasaw Nation, and I asked Margot Gray to join me and show me those connections, and we met with them in Oklahoma City, and then next I said, well, this is the model we need to follow, and our Constitution, in my view, will allow it. So I asked 3 members of Congress, Maria Whitehorn, Speaker Pratt, and Mr. Supernall to join me so they could hear for themselves, and they have their own opinions on what they heard. What I've been hearing from the Chickasaw Nation is for most of our economic development boards, we need to be under one board, okay? And they have they call it a holding company. And they have 12 LLCs based on market segments. And they taught us some lessons. You don't look at 8A's minority procurement as the end all. You look at that as a tool to help you build business capabilities and that whole philosophy that they have. And they gave me and Margot every document they had to help us get along that way. And I called SBA in Oklahoma City, and they said, follow the Chickasaw model. That's what the SBA told me in Oklahoma City, okay? I talked to them. They didn't say super board, but they're concerned, like I'm concerned, that Osage LLC is toxic. And I appointed some new board members to try to see if it could be saved. I'm of the opinion that it probably can't be, but let's keep seeing if they can survive. That I have always opposed money going into Osage LLC. Never when I was on Congress, and never as chief. Just can't do it, not another dime, okay? But the problem is, our 2 8As, Osage Pinnacle Design, DBA Tallgrass Construction, and OIS Technical are in Osage LLC. The new Tallgrass, which I supported to be this holding company, never got a chance to take those 8As or the clean assets and money and start anew. Never happened for, I believe, political reasons. Okay? Where we are today, same boat, except it's worse. We need to shut down this construction side. We're losing money. It's toxic. There's allegations that a year ago, some of those employees made false statements and obtained billing statements. Dangerous, dangerous. We need to quickly, and I've told the board chairman this and some of their board members, quickly separate Osage LLC and that 1 8A, ship it off. And then get wind down experts, attorneys and CPAs to wind it down and get out of it and take the good assets and the technology aspect and put it over in Tallgrass. And people say, well, if one goes down, everything else goes down. That's somebody's opinion, but I've talked to Robert Tompkins of Holland and Knight, and he more than once, and he's writing me an opinion, and as soon as it's finished, I will share it with Congress, that says no. If you keep them separate, and they don't contaminate one or the other, each other, the other 8As can survive. But they have to have a separate board, and they have to have a separate management, separate resources, and so on. You'll see it in this opinion. So this is getting beyond politics. This is about how we're going to have to handle this matter and what's going to happen in the future. Very critical time. Very critical. So a super board or a holding company right now is premature. We've got to separate the bad assets from the good. Right now. Quit delaying. My gosh. Now, the second question, maybe some people have questions on that later. Some of our LLC boards are preparing to take out loans. Would you support this? Not for Osage LLC or for Tallgrass, absolutely not. One's Osage Nation Environmental Services LLC is new. The Osage Congress and I supported with just over $400,000 last year that new entity to take off and get an 8A and look at business which is right around us, oil and gas. And we should have done this 100 years ago. Why hasn't the Osage been in the oil and gas business for ourselves? Well, people say, the BIA will take care of us. Huh, what a joke. So, this entity doesn't have to get into drilling. They don't have to go to the Minerals Council and BIA, but there's a lot of other work in transportation, a lot of other work involved in oil and gas, including environmental work. And the BI can tell you that there is environmental work all over the Osage. Why can't we take part in some of that and have an edge? That's its purpose. If they want to propose a loan, they have not proposed a loan to me yet, but I've heard they might. Let's take a look at it. Let's just don't shut the door. As far as Osage LLC, I'm sorry, on their loan, I can't support that at all. Now, in 2016, the Osage Nation borrowed $176 million to buy the Blue Stem Ranch and remodel our Tulsa casinos. Do you think that we have reached or exceeded that debt limit? It actually is a little more than that, but I can't say, well, I could. Well, because of competition might see this video. Cherokee and Creek. Hello. But here's the situation. No, we didn't even touch our debt limit, number one. And I had asked, just the normal course of what we do, what is our balances here and there? And as of today, well, as of April 1, the principal balance on the Blue Stem Ranch was $76 million. As of April 1, it's now paid down to $49,949 million. And that is, we took that loan out in June 16. We've already gone from 76 million to 49 million already. This came from Tim Steinke, the Chief Financial Officer of Osage Casinos. I said, well, okay, we'll give you some projections. Where are we going to be? Well, I just noticed. Can you hear me, Myron? Okay, thank you. The outstanding principal maturity in June 2021 will be $29,132,000 in June 20. So we're paying down fast, and we're paying down with real U.S. dollars. So there is money. There's a lot of it, but we got to use it in a smart way. So what we thought is that 43,000 acres came up on December 23rd, 2015 for sale by Ted Turner, who had bought it out of a bankruptcy court some years before, and the Osage missed that boat. Are we going to let it happen again? So I called Assistant Chief Redcorn that night, and I called Bank of Oklahoma, and by around midnight, we had it structured. Went to our gaming board and said, we have 30 days from December 23, 2015 to submit a sealed bid. And we put together a plan, and I don't think in our lifetime you'll ever see 43,000 acres in one piece come up again. Went to our Congress, who gave us the maximum amount we could bid, and we acquired it, and you own it, and I own it today. 43,000 acres. Osage land. I'm going to tell you, go back 1818, 200 years ago, that is the treaty in Missouri. Look at the facts. We've been losing land for 200 years, straight through. We got here in 1872, our 1.5 million acres. We were down to 150,000 acres when I got elected. Okay? We've turned that around for the first time in 200 years, and it took all of us to do it. That's working together. Then we took that Cobell money that was left over, and every tribe that applied properly got some of that money to buy land. And it was individual fractionated interest. We saw that. My team put together a package, first tribe in Oklahoma to get it, and we have acquired the equivalent of 6,500 more acres, not using a dime of our tribal monies, all Cobell. And then we've acquired more land, over 50,000 acres in the last 3 years. We've reversed that, and we've reversed the loss of our language. Yes, when Van Big Horse told me, Chief, this is the last train out. We were in Missouri. And I asked Van, I said, could you give the prayer up there in this town? And he said, yes, and he did. After that, he and I were talking, and he and I said, well, this is probably the first time in 200 years we've heard our language in this valley, these people. And he goes, this is the last train out. So I went and talked to Mowgli Lookout, and he goes, our language is extinct, the one we had. I don't accept that. So I went and talked to the Jicarilla. I went and talked to the Utes. I went and talked to the Pueblos, and then I talked to the Chippewas, and I found the model they used to support what Mowgli and them had been doing. Keep supporting that. And we funded, and we asked an immersion school. An immersion school be started. And I can tell whoever said the question was earlier, yeah, when these children come up in the grocery store in Pawhuska, and they come up there they're teaching me Osage. My grandma, Mary Lookout, lived with me as a child, and she learned Osage first, English second. And so I was around that, and my Uncle Freddie and all them, and all some of your elders, I was there. But like a lot of us, and I just didn't, I thought they'd always be around, okay? I'll just tell you. Okay? Here we are. Those children come up, and that child goes, Shake, it was Kahika, Shake, Oi, Brinke, Combra. And I said, I know that. I said, thank you. He said, Chief, I want to shake your hand. So I didn't do that. But then they started really talking to me, and I thought, yeah, okay. I had to go to that book that Van and that John Maker and all you guys did down there, and I've been studying that Osage. But the children are bringing it back. And so we've stopped that. We've reversed that. And our culture is strong. It's strong, but we needed new facilities. We got new arbors. Okay, we have 3 new arbors. We're in the right direction. Hominy is going to be opening up here soon. So we got that. So we're turned around. We turned the corner. We want to keep it going. I got a good team, and I'm asking you, let me have 4 more years to try to keep it going. That's what I'm doing. So for me and my team, it's about this. It's about our land, and it's about our culture. It's about our language. And then everything else we have to do. We know that the education, the scholarships, and the burial assistance, you new members of Congress are going to see this. That is funded separately. And that's going to be as much or more, probably more, than we've done this year. Yesterday, I sat in the Oklahoma State Senate's deliberations and saw them pass a new bill to help our Oklahoma public school teachers with $22 to $24 million out of a new gaming opportunity for the tribes. And last night I've been on the phone, or just texting and phone with our gaming people. How are we going to take advantage of this new opportunity? Because the legislature passed, the Senate passed 29 to 15 vote. After about 10 of the opposition got up and said some very, in my opinion, negative things about our Native people. And I was meeting in the hallways with Senator Matthews and Senator Pugh and others, doing what you do, right? It passed 29-15. That's going to allow us to have new forms of gaming just in time for a new Tulsa casino, which is going to open up August 31st of this year. New revenues. Yes, and so that will help pay down any debts. But we have increased costs. We have increased costs in our, we're gonna have to give more for scholarships, I tell you, it's coming. We're gonna have to do more for health care, guarantee you on that, absolutely guarantee you. We're gonna have to do more for our burial assistance and saying Congress, new Congress members, and get ready, it has to happen. We gotta be smart about it. These LLCs are supposed to be helping us, but don't count on them there right now. Don't count on it right now. It's not happening. And I'm going to give you something, if I might, in closing. So I said, I'm always looking at these immersion in language first, and our wheeler for our children. But you know, budgets, right? I can tell you the last year, this year we're in now, we asked members of Congress that you fund this immersion program, and you responded by funding it for $891,573 in our gaming money and other monies, like tax monies, and we thank you for that. I've asked David Webb, our headmaster and team, what is it going to take? What's the proposed realistic budget to keep expanding, to keep this kindergarten and go into first and second grade, you know, keep these children going in this language. They have just came up this week with a request, which we will be submitting, if I'm reelected, we'll be submitting $1,897,608. That's an increase of $1,006,000. We're going to be asking you to increase our immersion school by $1 million. Our language program, Uncle Moog and that program, it's got great results. The new app, the adult language programs, going into the public school systems, it's showing results, showing great results. To keep it going in that direction, Van Bighorst and his team has showed that for FY19, we're going to need a request $1,698,867, an increase of $479,539. I'm asking you to consider this our priority, our immersion and our language, our culture. Thank you.
Let's have a big hand for it.